Trusted throughout the Chicagoland area for the past 5 years, with an A+ rating on the Chicagoland Better Business Bureau, over 200 properties managed, and over 100 transactions conducted for the past 3 years, this is the Chicagoland Realty Group Partners Minute Moment. Hey guys, this is Sean Morrissey with Chicagoland Realty Group Partners here. I appreciate you checking out our website and checking out some of the great videos we've got here to get you started on the path to home ownership. So as promised, I am just going to give you a few minutes, and this video is basically going to be describing what does it take before I go out and buy my first home. And the reason that's important is that you need to know the tools that are available to you and the process that's got to be laid out before you even go out and start looking. So with that in mind, I'm shooting here from my hometown, beautiful downtown Aurora behind us, and I wanted to just give you a general overview of what you should do prior to actually going out and looking at homes and putting out an offer. And at the end of this video, I'm going to put together just a short quiz that's going to basically review some of the items we touched upon, so bear with me. So first and foremost, before you go out and buy your first home, your very first step is to go out and talk to your bank or talk to a preferred mortgage lender and get your mortgage pre-approval in place. Now what that means to you is that ultimately they're going to need to pull your credit report, they're going to need your last month of pay stubs, they're going to need your last 2 years of tax returns, and depending on whether you're self-employed or not, there could be other information involved. But at the end of the day, that is the very first step you need to take before proceeding with looking at any homes. Now, once you have that mortgage pre-approval in place and your bank says, hey, you look good, if you have a good loan officer, they should also have recommended to you that you may qualify for down payment funds in the form of grants that can assist you in the first-time home buying process. Now, as it stands, with this video in late 2016, there is a down payment program through the Illinois Housing Development Authority, which provides first-time home buyers within certain counties $7,500 in down payment assistance that is offered as a grant that you do not have to pay back. And you can use those funds to, in essence, purchase your first house. But you have to meet qualifications. So it's important to talk to your loan officer about that to see if you can actually qualify and then go through the pre-approval process as requested by the IHDA to make the process work for you. So that's step one, covered down payment in a general sense. Step number two is you're going to reach out to a realtor, be it myself, our office. We would be happy to assist. And at that point, based upon your pre-approval parameters, we'll start sending you homes based upon what you're looking for. So at that point, we'll say, hey, listen, what locations do you want to be in? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? You know, do you want a basement? How many cars to the garage? And then once we're able to set you up in that search, you're able to give feedback to us and say, all right, you know, in this case, Sean, this works for me, this doesn't work for me, you know, I want to look at this location because I can get a bigger house. And we start to play with your search a little bit based around your mortgage pre-approval parameters. From there, we narrow it down to your top 5 or 7 homes and we say, all right, let's take an afternoon and let's look at those. Because once we get above, you know, 7 homes or so, that search over the course of a day when we start looking at homes becomes a blur. And you may say, hey, Sean, I like this home. Oh, wait, I don't remember. And then we say, okay, well, let's slow it down. Let's take a step back. And after we look at each home, let's talk about what works and what doesn't work based upon your need base. So we can really hone in on what your priorities are and what we got to do to assist you as the buyer to finding that perfect house based upon what the bank will give you in terms of funds. Once we have your top 3 homes chosen, really, we're going to go back and kind of review those on an individual basis and say, all right, this one seems to work for this reason, this reason, this reason. You know, based upon your priorities and where you're at, what is your number one? And ideally, you'll know that through the process of elimination. Once we have a home you want to make an offer on at that point, we're going to draft the offer on your behalf. We're going to submit that to the realtor that's representing the seller, and then the seller is going to get back to us with any terms or conditions that may change with that in mind, until we reach a point in which both parties are happy. Once we have a fully signed agreement with all those terms negotiated out and agreed upon by both parties, There's going to be earnest funds you're going to put down, which is typically, roughly the rule of thumb I like to use is $1,000 in earnest funds for every $100,000 in house. But that's all negotiable. It could be much more, it could be less. So earnest funds have to be put down. From there, your home inspection has to be performed. And this is your first time you're going to actually shell out money over the course of the home transaction to pay for something. So home inspections tend to run anywhere from $300 to $450, depending on the size of the house, depending on the inspector. And ideally, I like to have my buyers meet us at that property so that you can really get a good idea of what is going to be an issue with that home or what's working really well with that home, because you want to make sure you're not going to get yourself into a money pit scenario. Once the home inspection's completed, there might be repairs that get negotiated out, but at the end of the day, hopefully we keep on track and everything works out just fine. The next step for you, the first-time home buyer, is to have your bank order the appraisal for the house. And what this appraisal is for is really for the bank, not necessarily for you. And the reason for that is the bank wants to make sure that the home you're buying is going to be a good investment for them. So with that in mind, this is the second time you're going to actually shell out money before you close on the house. And the appraisal can run, anywhere from $350 to $450, depending on the bank. At the end of the day, you're going to end up paying those funds out of pocket. And with that in mind, it's to satisfy the bank. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But once that's done, assuming all goes well, then the final step is going to be for you to order insurance to cover the property over the term you're going to live there the first year. From there, we're going to do our final walkthrough the day before we close, and we're going to go to the closing table there on afterwards. Now, with that in mind, it typically is common to ask for a closing date when you initially write your offer to be 45 to 60 days out from that time in which that offer is presented. Really, the reason for that is to meet TRID guidelines as well as satisfy the bank requirements in regards to how long it takes them to really process your paperwork and get the financing in place. So all things considered, we're looking at a 60-day period. You can expect not to have to pay your first mortgage payment, or I should say your first month in which you live in the home. You do not have to pay a mortgage payment. And with that in mind, you're happily ever after. You're in your new home. So with that in mind, we're going to have a series of other videos that are going to kind of follow this one, but this is really the primary video for first-time home buyers. If you have any questions, reach out to us directly, 630-318-6900. Our website, as you're well aware, chicago-realty-group.com. We've got a fantastic home search on there, as well as some other buyer tools. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great day.